Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a guy say something that sounded harmless, but left you feeling uneasy? Like your instincts were whispering something's not right. It might have been during a casual conversation, or maybe even in the middle of an argument. And even though the words seemed normal, something about them didn't sit right with you. That's not just your imagination. That's your intuition, and it's trying to protect you. Words are powerful. They're not just how we express ourselves. They're how we reveal who we truly are. And sometimes the biggest red flags aren't in someone's actions. They're hiding in plain sight, in what they say. In this video, I'm going to break down 7 specific phrases men often use that might seem innocent, even flattering, but are actually major warning signs. And I'm not just giving you opinions. We're diving into the psychology behind each one, so you can understand what's really going on when these phrases come up. Because once you learn to decode the language of manipulation, deflection, and emotional immaturity, you can protect your peace, trust your gut, and walk away before the damage is done. So if you're tired of repeating relationship patterns, questioning yourself, or missing the signs until it's too late, stay with me. Let's talk about the red flags that don't wave but whisper. One of the most common phrases you might hear when you bring up something that's bothering you is, "You're overreacting." On the surface, it sounds like a simple attempt to calm things down, or to suggest that maybe you're seeing things in a more intense way than necessary. But here's the truth. When a man says this to you repeatedly, it's often not about you overreacting at all. It's about him trying to control the narrative and undermine your feelings. This phrase is one of the classic gaslighting tactics. And if you don't know what gaslighting is, it's a form of emotional manipulation where someone makes you question your own reality, feelings, or sanity. When he tells you you're overreacting, what he's really saying is, your feelings are wrong, and you can't trust your own judgment. This subtle dismissal is designed to make you doubt yourself so much that you stop bringing up problems altogether. Why does this happen? Often it's because the person saying it doesn't want to take responsibility for their behavior or actions. Instead of acknowledging your concerns, they deflect and minimize them, making you feel like you're the one causing the problem. Over time, this erodes your confidence and makes you more dependent on their version of reality, which is dangerous. If you find yourself constantly being told you're too sensitive or overreacting, it's important to pay attention. These phrases are red flags signaling emotional manipulation, and ignoring them can lead to bigger issues down the line, including emotional abuse. Your feelings are valid, and they deserve to be heard and respected, not dismissed. So the next time you hear you're overreacting, pause and ask yourself, am I really reacting too strongly? Or is someone trying to make me doubt myself so they don't have to face their own faults? Recognizing this can be the first step toward protecting yourself and setting healthy boundaries. Remember, your emotions are your truth. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. When a man starts telling you about his crazy ex, it might seem like harmless venting, or just a way of explaining why his past relationships didn't work out. But this phrase is one of the biggest red flags you should never ignore. Saying, "My ex was crazy," isn't just a casual complaint. It's often a classic example of blame shifting, and it can reveal a lot about how he handles responsibility and conflict. What exactly is blame shifting? It's when someone refuses to own their part in a problem and instead points all the fault at someone else. In this case, the crazy ex becomes a scapegoat for every issue in his past relationship, making him look like the innocent victim. This way, he avoids reflecting on his own behavior or mistakes, which is a serious warning sign. When someone constantly talks negatively about their ex, especially with terms like crazy, psycho, or manipulative, it's a red flag because it suggests a few things. First, it shows a lack of accountability. Healthy people take responsibility for their role in relationships, the good and the bad. They learn and grow. But someone who blames their ex entirely is probably stuck in a cycle of denial and avoidance. Second, this kind of talk often indicates that he hasn't fully healed or processed his past. Carrying that much bitterness and anger into a new relationship can poison it before it even starts. Worse, it sometimes hints that he might repeat the same patterns because he hasn't done the work to change. Third, This blame shifting can be a subtle way to manipulate you. By painting his ex as crazy, he's setting you up as the opposite, the normal or reasonable one who's safe and different. This creates a dynamic where he's testing you, trying to see if you'll accept this narrative without question or if you'll challenge him. And if you do question it, he might accuse you of being just like her, which can trap you in the same toxic cycle. It's also worth noting that if he brings up his ex in this negative way early on, it's a big red flag that he's not fully ready to move forward. It can mean he's emotionally unavailable, or still caught up in the drama of his past, which is unfair to you. So what should you do when you hear "my ex was crazy"? First, listen carefully. Is he genuinely explaining something important, or is he constantly bad-mouthing her to avoid accountability? Second, trust your gut. If it feels like he's trying to make you pick a side or manipulate your perception, be cautious. Remember, everyone's past relationships have challenges, but how someone talks about those challenges tells you a lot about who they are now. A healthy partner takes ownership, shows empathy, and respects the people who were once important in their life, even if things didn't end well. If you hear this phrase a lot, it's worth pausing and asking yourself, is this a man who can own his mistakes, grow, and build a healthy relationship? Or is he still stuck blaming others and avoiding real change? Your emotional safety depends on spotting these signs early, and not letting yourself be pulled into a blame game that's designed to keep you confused and off balance. When a man says, "I'm just being honest," it might sound like he's trying to be upfront or transparent with you. On the surface, honesty is a good thing. It builds trust and keeps communication clear. But when this phrase is used as a shield for hurtful or disrespectful comments, it becomes a major red flag. It's what I like to call disguised cruelty. When someone uses honesty as an excuse to say things that are unnecessarily harsh, mean, or even manipulative. Here's the thing. Honesty doesn't mean being brutally blunt without any regard for your feelings. It doesn't mean tearing someone down just because you think it's the truth. Real honesty is rooted in respect and empathy. When a man hides behind "I'm just being honest" to say things that are cruel, dismissive, or even insulting, it's often a way to justify bad behavior and avoid accountability. This phrase is a clever way to control conversations and lower your boundaries. If you challenge him or tell him that what he said hurt you, he can easily brush it off by saying, "I was only being honest," or "I'm just telling you how it is." That puts the burden on you to accept the criticism, even if it's delivered without care or kindness. It's a tactic to make you feel like you shouldn't be offended or upset. And if you are, then you're the one being too sensitive or unreasonable. In many cases, this phrase is used to cover up deeper issues like insecurity, jealousy, or a lack of emotional maturity. Instead of having vulnerable, respectful conversations, he chooses to weaponize honesty, using it as a mask to say what he really wants without having to deal with the consequences. If you notice this pattern, it's important to stop and ask yourself, is this really honesty or just an excuse to be hurtful? Are his words helping you grow and understand, or are they making you feel small, confused, or controlled? Genuine honesty in a relationship should empower you, not tear you down. Another red flag tied to this phrase is that it often comes with a refusal to listen. When someone insists they're just being honest, they're usually shutting down any discussion or feedback. This means there's no room for healthy dialogue or compromise, which are essential in any loving, balanced relationship. Remember, a partner who truly cares about you will be honest and kind. They'll tell you difficult truths, but they'll do it with respect. If "I'm just being honest" feels more like an attack than a helpful comment, it's a sign that the person might not have your best interests at heart. So the next time you hear "I'm just being honest," pay attention to how it makes you feel. Does it build trust, or does it hurt you? Because disguising cruelty as honesty is a manipulative move, and it's one of the biggest verbal red flags you need to recognize and take seriously. Hearing "you're too sensitive" from a man can feel like a slap in the face, especially when you're opening up about something that truly matters to you. This phrase might seem harmless or even like a gentle critique at first, but it's actually a serious red flag rooted in emotional invalidation. When someone tells you you're too sensitive, what they're really doing is dismissing your feelings and telling you they don't matter, and that can be deeply damaging. Invalidation is when your emotions, thoughts, or experiences are minimized, ignored, or outright denied. Instead of acknowledging how you feel, this phrase tells you your feelings are a problem, that you're overreacting or being irrational for simply being human. It's like saying your emotions aren't valid, and you need to control yourself to make me more comfortable. Why does this happen? Often it's because the person saying it feels uncomfortable or threatened by your emotions. They might not know how to handle emotional expression, especially if it's different from their own way of processing things. Instead of trying to understand or empathize, they shut you down. Sometimes it's intentional, a way to avoid accountability or keep control, but other times it comes from emotional immaturity or insecurity. No matter the reason, the effect is the same. Your feelings get pushed aside, which can leave you doubting yourself and second-guessing your reactions. Over time, this kind of invalidation chips away at your self-esteem and your ability to trust your own emotional responses. You start wondering, am I really too sensitive, or is something wrong with me? The truth is, sensitivity isn't a flaw. Being in tune with your emotions and expressing them openly is a sign of emotional intelligence and self-awareness. A healthy partner respects that and supports you, even if they don't always fully understand what you're feeling. When you hear, "You're too sensitive," pay attention to the context. Is it being used to avoid talking about important issues? Is it a way to silence you when you're expressing discomfort or hurt? If so, that's emotional invalidation, and it's toxic. It's also important to recognize that this phrase can be used to manipulate. When someone tells you you're too sensitive, they might be trying to make you feel guilty or crazy for speaking up. This can keep you quiet and give them more control in the relationship. So how do you respond? Start by trusting your feelings. You have every right to feel what you feel. If someone tells you you're too sensitive, gently remind yourself that your emotions are valid and that a respectful partner will honor them. Setting boundaries is key. If the phrase keeps coming up, it's a sign you need to have a serious conversation or reconsider whether this relationship respects your emotional well-being. Remember, emotional invalidation is one of the quietest but most harmful red flags. It sneaks in disguised as concern or critique, but what it really does is undermine your emotional safety. You deserve someone who listens, validates, and values your feelings, not someone who tries to erase them with a simple phrase like "you're too sensitive." When a man tells you, "I don't believe in labels," it might initially sound like he's keeping things casual and open-minded. In today's dating culture, avoiding labels can seem trendy or even healthy. After all, some people want to avoid pressure and just enjoy the moment. But when this phrase comes up repeatedly, and especially early in a relationship, it can actually be a big red flag tied to avoidant behavior, emotional unavailability, and a reluctance to commit. What does "I don't believe in labels" really mean in this context? Most often, it's a way for someone to keep their options open without having to define the relationship or take responsibility for where things are headed. It's a defense mechanism that allows them to avoid vulnerability, emotional intimacy, and the potential discomfort of commitment. Avoidant behavior isn't just about fear of commitment. It's deeper than that. It's about protecting themselves from the possibility of being hurt, rejected, or tied down. By refusing to put a label on the relationship, they're creating a safe emotional distance where they don't have to fully engage or invest. This can leave you feeling confused, frustrated, and stuck in limbo, wondering where you really stand. When someone says, "I don't believe in labels," listen carefully to what they're not saying. They might be avoiding conversations about exclusivity, future plans, or even basic expectations. This lack of clarity can be exhausting and emotionally draining because healthy relationships thrive on mutual understanding and shared goals. It's also important to realize that this phrase can be a subtle way to keep you from setting boundaries. If there's no label, then it's easy for them to dismiss your feelings or concerns about where the relationship is going. They might say things like, "We're just having fun," or "Why put a label on something that's working?" But without a foundation of commitment and honesty, working often means one-sided effort and emotional confusion. Avoidant behavior can also mask deeper issues like fear of intimacy, past trauma, or low emotional awareness. Sometimes, people use phrases like this, because they simply don't know how to open up or handle deeper emotional connections. While that's understandable, it's not fair to leave you in a state of uncertainty. If you find yourself hearing, "I don't believe in labels" a lot, it's crucial to ask yourself what you want. Are you okay with an undefined relationship, or do you need clarity and commitment? It's okay to want more, and to expect honesty about where things stand. Your feelings and needs are valid. Healthy relationships are built on clear communication, respect, and mutual commitment. Avoiding labels might feel easier or safer for some, but it often signals emotional unavailability, which can prevent true connection and long-term happiness. So if you hear "I don't believe in labels," take it as a red flag to dig deeper. Don't settle for ambiguity or emotional distance. You deserve a partner who is willing to be vulnerable, clear, and committed. Someone who isn't afraid to put a name to what you have together. One of the most controlling and manipulative phrases a man can say is, "Trust me, but don't ask questions." On the surface, it might seem like he's asking for your faith and confidence, which in a healthy relationship is important. But when trust is demanded without transparency, it's a glaring red flag that something deeper is going on. Control. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. But real trust is built on honesty, openness, and respect. When someone tells you to just trust them without allowing any questions or conversations, they're cutting off communication and shutting down your ability to feel safe and secure. This phrase creates an imbalance of power where you're expected to accept their word blindly, but they aren't willing to show you why you should. This kind of demand is often used to hide secrets, avoid accountability, or manipulate your perception. When he says "don't ask questions," what he's really saying is, "I don't want you to know the truth." That can be about anything: who they're spending time with, where they're going, or what they're really thinking. It's a tactic designed to control the narrative and keep you in the dark. When questions are off limits, you can't set healthy boundaries or express concerns. You start feeling anxious and confused because the trust you're supposed to have feels one-sided. This creates a breeding ground for doubt, suspicion, and emotional distress. Over time, you might find yourself walking on eggshells, afraid to ask anything that might upset him, which is a sign of an unhealthy dynamic. Another dangerous aspect of this phrase is that it often comes with guilt tripping. If you express a need for clarity or transparency, you might be met with frustration, anger, or accusations that you don't trust him enough. This flips the situation and makes you the problem, even though wanting to ask questions in a relationship is completely normal and healthy. It's also important to understand that control disguised as trust erodes your independence. When you can't ask questions or express your concerns openly, your voice gets muted and your confidence diminishes. You start doubting your judgment and questioning whether you're too demanding or overthinking. But the problem isn't you, it's the person who refuses to be accountable. In a healthy relationship, trust is earned through consistent honesty and respect, not forced through silence and control. If you hear "trust me, but don't ask questions," recognize it for what it is: a boundary designed to keep you from seeing the full picture, to keep you compliant, and to maintain control. You deserve a partner who welcomes your questions and values transparency. Someone who understands that trust grows when you both feel safe to speak openly, ask for clarity, and share your feelings without fear of backlash. So next time you hear this phrase, don't ignore your instincts. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to expect openness. And it's definitely okay to walk away if you're being asked to trust blindly without being given a reason to. When a man says, "You're not like other girls," it might sound like a compliment at first, and honestly, it's easy to see why. It feels like he's setting you apart, making you feel special or unique. But beneath the surface, this phrase is one of the most common backhanded compliments and a subtle red flag that can quietly chip away at your self-esteem and sense of worth. At its core, "you're not like other girls" is actually a comparison disguised as praise. It implies that other girls are somehow less desirable, less worthy, or have negative qualities that you don't. This puts you in a position where your value is based not just on who you are, but on how you measure up against a generalized, often unfair stereotype of women. This kind of comment often comes from a place of insecurity or judgment. When someone uses this phrase, they're usually trying to flatter you, but they're also revealing their biases and narrow views about women in general. It's like saying, "You're acceptable because you don't act like all the others I don't like." That's a heavy and unfair burden to carry. It suggests you have to be different in his eyes to be loved or appreciated. Another problem with this phrase is that it can isolate you. By drawing a line between you and other girls, he's indirectly discouraging you from relating to or trusting other women. It can make you feel like you're in a competition, or that you need to constantly prove you're better than some vague, imagined standard. This creates unnecessary pressure and can damage your self-confidence over time. Backhanded compliments like this also tend to mask deeper issues. Sometimes they reveal control or possessiveness. By setting you apart, he might be trying to make you feel special, but also subtly controlling how you see yourself and others. It's a way to keep you reliant on his approval, which isn't healthy. Plus, this phrase often goes hand in hand with other subtle manipulations. For example, he might say this when he's criticizing a behavior he doesn't like, framing it as a contrast to other girls. It's a way to gaslight you into thinking you're uniquely acceptable only because you conform to his expectations, not because you're authentically yourself. The truth is, you don't need to be not like other girls to be valuable or lovable. Your worth isn't based on comparison or how you stack up against someone else. It's about being accepted for who you genuinely are, flaws and all. If you find yourself hearing this phrase often, it's important to pause and reflect. Is this a man who truly values you, or is he trying to set you apart for his own reasons? Are you feeling uplifted, or subtly pressured to be something you're not? Healthy relationships celebrate the full person, not a version of you shaped by stereotypes or comparisons. So next time you hear, "You're not like other girls," recognize it for what it is, a backhanded compliment that might feel good temporarily, but can undermine your confidence and autonomy over time. You deserve someone who loves you for exactly who you are, without the need to compare or label you against anyone else. As we wrap up this video, it's important to remember that spotting red flags isn't about being paranoid or overly cautious. It's about protecting your emotional well-being and creating space for healthy relationships. The phrases we've talked about today, those subtle but powerful red flags, are clues. They're signals that something deeper might be going on beneath the surface, and recognizing them early can save you a lot of heartache down the road. Relationships should feel safe, respectful, and supportive. If you notice these warning signs, whether it's gaslighting through "you're overreacting," blame shifting with "my ex was crazy," disguised cruelty behind "I'm just being honest," emotional invalidation in "you're too sensitive," avoidant behavior in "I don't believe in labels," control masked by "trust me, but don't ask questions," or the isolating backhanded compliment, "You're not like other girls," it's crucial to trust your instincts. One of the most powerful tools you have is your awareness. When you recognize these patterns, you gain the power to set boundaries. Boundaries are your personal rules about what behavior you will accept and what you won't. They're essential for maintaining your self-respect and protecting your mental health. Don't be afraid to say no, or walk away from situations where you feel manipulated, dismissed, or disrespected. Another key way to protect yourself is by cultivating self-love and confidence. When you truly value yourself, it becomes easier to spot when someone isn't treating you the way you deserve. Self-love isn't about arrogance. It's about recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less than respect and kindness. Communication is also vital. Don't be afraid to ask questions, express your feelings, and demand clarity. Healthy relationships thrive on openness and honesty. If someone tries to shut down your questions or insists you should just trust without transparency, that's a red flag. You deserve a partner who welcomes your voice, not one who silences it. Remember, no relationship is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes, but consistent patterns of disrespect or emotional manipulation are not something you should tolerate. Your emotional safety should always come first. What winner pals and opennesseten etude. Surround yourself with supportive friends and family who can help you see things clearly when you feel confused or unsure. Sometimes an outside perspective can reveal things you might miss when you're emotionally involved. Finally, trust your intuition. Your gut feelings are often the first line of defense against toxic relationships. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Take time to reflect and prioritize your emotional well-being. Protecting yourself doesn't mean closing yourself off to love or relationships. It means being wise about who you let in and how you allow them to treat you. Love should lift you up, not tear you down. So as you move forward, remember these red flags, trust your feelings, set clear boundaries, and never compromise on your worth. You deserve a relationship where you feel seen, heard, and deeply respected. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that empowers you to build the healthy, loving relationship you deserve. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I hope this video gave you some valuable insights into those subtle but powerful red flags that can show up in what men say and how to protect yourself emotionally. Remember, awareness is your first step to building healthier, happier relationships. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone you think might benefit. It's so important to spread the word and help others recognize these signs before they get caught in unhealthy patterns. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss new videos packed with advice, tips, and real talk about relationships, self-love, and personal growth. I post new content regularly to help you navigate love and life with confidence and clarity. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share which red flag resonated with you the most, or if you've ever encountered any of these phrases in your own experience. Your stories and insights could help someone else feel less alone and more empowered. Remember, you deserve respect, kindness, and honesty in every relationship. Don't settle for less and always trust your instincts. Thanks again for being here and investing in yourself. Stay strong, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next video.